My first job out of school was working in Iran in the mid-70s for the mayor of Tehran, working on projects for the Shah. All right. It was a fascinating time. It was a time of tremendous contrast, a 2,500-year-old culture coming headlong into rapid modernization. But I learned some life-changing lessons when I was there. And most importantly, what affected the rest of my career was understanding the power of design and the role that it played. So, 500 years ago, Isfahan, the Salafi Dynasty, these folks knew a little bit about how design can deliver powerful and emotional spirit. I will never forget. I can still feel what I felt in my first trip to the Shah's Mosque in Isfahan over 40 years ago. The Shah at that time built the Ali Qapu Palace, and on the top floor, he designed this room. And the ceiling of this room were a series of domes upon domes. It was like 100 violins on the ceiling. And his belief was that it could capture the essence of music, and it would affect the behavior and the thought processes of people in that room to follow. And he did just that. Before he was to use the room to meditate or to meet with special guests, he would have musicians play music in that room for hours. They would leave, and he'd come in. But for me, it was a lot more than that. It had an impact on my understanding of the role that architecture can play. And I believe that someday, quantum physics may actually prove that room works. Well, science is now playing a big role in what architects do. We used to stamp plans, and now we hang around with neuroscientists. Some of the things we've learned have really shaped what we're doing. For example, high ceilings. If you're in a space with a high ceiling, your ability to think spatially and conceptually is improved. Your cognitive performance in that area goes up. If you have a low ceiling, your cognitive performance for mathematics will improve. We used to think cubicles were horrible. Now we know they are. They create stress, they make you unhealthy, and your performance goes down. So a connection to that is what we've learned about how we early humans lived. We very carefully picked where we chose to live with this idea of prospect and refuge. And what we mean by that is you'd pick a spot where you can see what's out there and you can see what's coming. That's prospect. And refuge, well, a place to hide. And guess what? Cubicles have neither of either of those. And they do create stress. They do create low performance and poor health. They do suck. And speaking of early humans, for over 99% of our time on this planet, we've lived outside. And when we're in nature, we're home. And that's about this bond that humans have with nature, plants and animals. And so what we've learned is that if you're sitting at your desk and you can see a tree within 100 feet, your cognitive performance goes up and your stress goes down. This is Massachusetts General Hospital. This is their new hospital in Boston. This is the brain surgery recovery suite, one of many suites like this. And when you get out of brain surgery, you lie on this bed and you face the nurse's station for the first 24 hours. So the nurse can look you right in the eye. But at 24 hours, this bed swivels 180 degrees and you're looking out on that garden. That garden, a good idea. That garden was an investment in health. It's on the 8th floor of the building, a significant investment in health. And they're seeing the returns, because if for the rest of your recovery you're looking at that garden, you will go home sooner, you will go home healthier, and the recovery rates and performance of this hospital goes up. So I had the opportunity to work with the CEO of Samsung, the world's largest electronics company, at an interesting time a few years ago where they were making a change, a significant change, from becoming what they called a fast follower. And what the CEO knew was that they needed a culture change, a huge culture change. And in my conversations with that CEO, he became convinced that the design of their North American headquarters could help begin that change, that people would respond to this space. And so we went ahead with this idea of designing a generative building. So what do we mean by that? Is to foster new relationships, generate new relationships every day, every work, every week, all year long. So what we know is that 50% of our brains, more than 50% of our brains, is visual. And what we see and who we see in the course of a day matters a lot. So we designed a building around the idea that looking at the patterns and running avatars through hundreds of different floor plates, we could find a way that you would see more different people in the course of a day. And we did another thing. We also calculated a way to figure out how you could burn more calories during that same day. Because if you're moving more, you're healthier, you're smarter, you're happier, and your performance will go up. So we're designing buildings around creating relationships and creating movement. Another thing that we did was we made an outdoor space every third floor of this 10-story building. You're never more than a floor away from being outside. Because if you want to have a great meeting, go outside and take a walk. That's where your brain will be at its highest possible performance, and you'll come back from that meeting healthier, happier, and smarter. And it doesn't end there, which is the idea of a corporate headquarters and its relationship with the city. That the office does not end at the front door, and the city does not end at the front door. And that going out and taking a walk, going out for lunch, is part of that experience. It's part of how you're going to be a more productive worker. So, beliefs, intuition, now science, they all count. This is the case for the power of design, and it's stronger than ever. And it's just in time. We have the tools, and now we have a choice. Will we choose to build classrooms that are boring, or classrooms that delight? Will we choose to build workplaces that distract, or workplaces that motivate? Will we choose to build cities that stress, or will we choose to build cities that inspire? Design gives us that choice. Thank you.